In this video, I'd like to review AMD's Eyefinity technology. I'd like to first explain what Eyefinity technology is. I'll then show you how to create an Eyefinity group within AMD's Catalyst Control Center, and lastly, I'll show you ways that you can optimize the Eyefinity group to get the most out of your experience. To begin, let's first review what AMD's Eyefinity technology is. Eyefinity is AMD's multi-display technology for gaming, productivity, and entertainment. It allows you to group together multiple displays to create a single large surface. In supported games, for example, creating an Eyefinity group can take your gaming experience to the next level. An example shown on the screen, a helicopter is flying around a city on a single display, and that demonstrates the traditional single display gaming environment. With an Eyefinity group created, the world around you becomes far more visible, and with it, your gaming experience becomes far more immersive. Before I demonstrate how to create the Eyefinity group within AMD's Catalyst Control Center, I want to make sure that your display hardware is connected correctly. Firstly, you want to verify that the displays you want a part of the Eyefinity group are connected to a single graphics card. AMD has published a video to help with this, and the link for that video is on the screen now. Secondly, I suggest you may want to set up your displays into an extended desktop configuration to verify that they can all be enabled at the same time. AMD has published a multi-monitor setup video to help with this, and the link for that video is on the screen now. Lastly, to get the most out of your Eyefinity experience, it's recommended that the displays that are a part of the Eyefinity group share the same physical size and native resolution. To create the Eyefinity group, we're going to use AMD's Vision Engine Control Center. It's also known as the Catalyst Control Center. To open it up, simply right-click anywhere on the desktop and choose the option there to open it. Now, in this video, I'll be using the standard view of the Vision Engine Control Center. I find that the standard view just lays its features and functions out in a very user-friendly manner, and to create the Eyefinity group, it just guides you through it. If you wish to use Advanced View, you can find that under Preferences in the top right. So what I'm working with right now is currently I have set up an extended desktop configuration, so I have a primary display and two extended desktops that are enabled. Under the Start menu, under Desktops and Displays, I'm going to choose AMD Eyefinity Multi-Display. And there I'm going to click on Create Eyefinity Display Group. So right away it asks me which display I want to start creating the group from. In this case I'm going to choose the primary display that's denoted by the asterisk, and then I'm going to click Continue. The most common Eyefinity group is the 3x1 group, where you have 3 displays set up in a horizontal row in front of you. So I'm going to choose 3 displays 3x1 from the drop down and then click Continue. At this point, the Vision Engine Control Center is creating the Eyefinity group, and once it's done, it'll say it's complete, and there'll be an option to click Arrange. Now when I click Arrange, this will make sure that the mouse moves properly through the displays that are part of the Eyefinity group, and what you'll end up with is all your displays will go blank except for one, which will be lit in blue. And all you need to do is simply click on the display in the grid that you see in the Vision Engine Control Center that corresponds with the display that's physically lit in blue. In this case, my far left monitor is only lit in blue right now, so I'm going to click the far left display in the grid. And then now my far right monitor is lit in blue, so I'm going to click the far right monitor in the grid. And that will complete that setup, and I will click Done. Now you have an Eyefinity group that's completed. So now that we've created the group within the Catalyst Control Center, I'd like to demonstrate a few ways that we can optimize the group so that we can get the most out of the experience. Specifically, I'd like to demonstrate how to position the Windows taskbar, and lastly how to use the bezel compensation feature. Now let me quickly show you how to position the Windows taskbar. Remember that the Eyefinity group was created by grouping together individual displays to make up a single large surface or a single large desktop area. So by default, the Windows taskbar will span across all displays in the Eyefinity group. To change that, using the AMD Vision Engine Control Center, in Standard View, click on Start, choose AMD Eyefinity Multi-Display, and then click on Position Windows Taskbar. You'll see a checkbox to position the Windows taskbar on a single display. Check that, and then click Continue. Now you'll see that the Windows taskbar is on a single display, and you can drag and drop it to any display you choose that's a part of the Eyefinity group. Lastly, I want to demonstrate how to use the bezel compensation feature for the Eyefinity group that we just created. Bezel compensation will allow you to compensate for the panel's physical bezels, as well as any gaps between the panels that are part of the Eyefinity group. Bezel compensation will allow your desktop, games, and images that you're looking at to appear correctly and continuously across the panels that make up the group. So to use bezel compensation, from the Start menu in the Vision Engine Control Center, simply click AMD Eyefinity Multi-Display and then choose bezel compensation at the bottom. the bezel compensation view will appear, and what you'll see is a yellow triangle that's made up of two pieces, as well as an up, down, and left, right arrow. You simply adjust the pieces of the triangle so that they line up correctly using the arrow keys, and once you're satisfied that they're lined up properly, simply click X, and a dialog box will appear asking if you want to save your changes for the bezel compensation. In this case, click Yes, and your changes are saved. Thanks for watching this video on AMD's Eyefinity technology. I know I've covered quite a bit in the video, including an overview of what Eyefinity is, as well as how to create the Eyefinity group within AMD's Vision Engine Control Center. Please feel free to rewatch any component of the video over again, and don't forget to leave your comments below.